Hi, it's Andy. The weather's poor, so I'm reduced to cutting some firewood at the minute. And I thought I'd do a little comparison between a hatchet and a machete to see which one provides the best cutting. Now, the wood I'll be cutting will be of similar sizes and thicknesses, so I'm giving it a fair test. But the reason behind this is I use both, and I've never really actually sat down and thought which one performs the best for any given task. It is basically which one ends up in the bag if I go out into the field wild camping, or shall we say getting wood for my craft business, which I then process in the field. Both have a place, and I've taken both on the same, shall we say, type of excursion into the forest and woods. So it'll be interesting to see which one actually does perform the best. Right, first off, this is the Hatchet. It's obviously a cheap one, plastic handle, moderate, shall we say, quality of head, nothing to write home about. It holds an edge reasonably well, although I use this one to extract hiking sticks from the woods and forests. So, shall I say, this does the job for me. It is a hand-me-down. Before this, I solely used the Machete, the British Army variant, which I'll come on to in a minute. So yeah, as you can see, this one's a hand-me-down. It's a cheap one. It's done the job. I know a lot of people have very specialised bushcrafting ones, and they're beautiful pieces of wood, steel, and as far as hatchets go, in some cases they look too good to use. But this does the job for me, and it would possibly do the job for anybody else in its role as a kindling, small wood processing hatchet, and basically offers portability, as in it's not too heavy, it's not too big, and basically you don't have to worry about the handle or and because it wouldn't have cost you a lot of money, leaving this out and getting it wet isn't really going to do you or your head, shall I say, any harm in worrying about it. So yeah, this one here is what it is. It's cheap. I wouldn't say nasty, because it is what it is. It's a cheap, usable tool that can be used in all weather conditions and without the need for regular maintenance, and basically not breaking the bank financially. Right then, that brings me on to the Machete. Now, I've used this for a number of years in a past life role that I did, and it served me well through that occupation. Yes, it's been thoroughly abused, this one. I've used the spine to knock in tent pegs. I've used it to dig with, and on top of that, I've used it to cut and manufacture, shall we say, places that I was going to be staying that night or for an extended period of time. So yes, I know this works, and after I left that particular role, this has stayed with me, and I've been using it to extract wood, sticks and that from the woods and forests. The same role as the hatchet, for my craft business. Now, like I said, it does the job. It feels light. It's comfortable in the hand. It's full tang, or not nigh on. It comes pretty much back to the butt. So, you know, full tang or not full tang, in reality not full tang, but it's far enough back, shall I say, for me to, because it's coming up to the very butt piece of the handle. I would argue that that's neither here nor there. It feels comfortable in the hand. It's definitely portable, and it is definitely more portable than a small hatchet. Um, this here can easily, you know, just be slid straight down into a pocket of your work trousers, and you're good to go. Um, it is the steel that the blade is made from. I'll be blatantly honest with you, this does need regular sharpening for it to hold an edge. Sometimes, like I said, I have found myself using this with a blunt edge after I've sharpened it, which it's done pretty quick, so it's left me a little bit frustrated in the field. But there is one advantage over the hatchet. That is, you have a bigger cutting area. You don't actually have to be as accurate striking that piece of wood to gain a result of chopping or cutting. That is the advantage I've found over a hatchet. As you can clearly see, you have a broader, shall we say, opportunity to hit that piece of wood and cut into it. Now, an experienced person on a hatchet will say you shouldn't be missing. No, you shouldn't. But what I'm saying is you need to be reasonably accurate every time, where I can, if I don't hit it at the very top, shall I say up here, I can hit down here and still make an effective cut into the wood. Yeah, so there is an advantage. Like you say, you've got a bigger cutting surface. It's lighter, so that impacts, you don't have the velocity when it hits the piece of wood, and shall we say the driving force. This is definitely more weighty. The other advantage is on this cheap one here, I do have a blunt end as a hammer. A lot of people will be shocked to think that you even use it for that capacity, but like I said, these are tools. I work in the forests and woods. They're tools to me. I don't just use them weekends to practice my hobby of bushcraft. I'm actually out there processing wood for my business. So, you know, I know both these work. But I've never actually fully compared to see what they will do. So let's go and do it. Right then, I've got two pieces of wood, firewood here, roughly the same sort of like thickness and that. So we'll just test them on this type of wood, see what the cutting performance is like. Well, basically, see how many strikes I may need to do to go through these bits of wood. So I'll start with the hatchet. So I'll get this firmly set there, and this is the hatchet. This is a piece of wood. I'm going to see how many attempts it takes for me to go through. Well, that was blatantly effective. No qualms at all. That went through this small bit like, well, basically like a knife through butter. But yeah, so the hatchet, one small strike, it went straight through. So I'll move on to the machete. Right then, yet again, setting it up. There you go. That's nice and firm. British Army variant machete. Like I said, I've used this for anything that you could think you could use it for. Right. It does feel lighter, and to be honest with you, when I'm looking at that piece of wood, there is a slight lack of confidence, but I'm going to give it a go. So here I go. That actually did it pretty well, and it embedded itself actually in the in the chopping blocks I'm using. So yeah, that was effective. I felt more vibration through the handle than I did the hatchet, but it did go through. It did feel more confident with the hatchet using it than the machete, but like I said, it did do the job. So I'll move on to some heavier gauge wood. Right, once again, this is slightly a heavier gauge, slightly thicker. You wouldn't technically really be going much bigger than this with a hatchet anyway, but I'm going to give it a go and see how many attempts it takes to go through this. Well, it's gone through. I can peel it apart, but it did hang up on the piece of wood there. I'm going to go again. There, straight through. Two attempts really, and that went through. Not really a drama. I mean, that's normal, I would say. But yeah, I'm going to give the machete a go now and see what that does. But like I said, this wood is starting to get to the size you wouldn't be using any of these two tools anyway. You'd be using a proper splitting axe. Right, I don't have the confidence even that I had with the hatchet. The machete just feels that bit too light for this, but here we go. That actually went through. That surprised me. I'm going to give it another go just for the sake of it. Well, I went in on the grain at a different angle there, as you could see, and that's a lot bigger piece of the wood. The machete, I would say, didn't have the weight and the oomph to get through that whole piece of wood. It did the first slide, a hit, shall I say, and it slid right the way through. But when I come to actually finish processing it off, and I was against the wood, the grain, shall I say, it just didn't have that oomph. So I definitely can say the, shall we say, hatchet felt more comfortable. The weight drove through it. Yeah, this one here, it was probably a fluke, and I probably caught the corner of it, taking the sliver off. For it to go through, but when it had to go through the real meat of the wood, it just didn't feel right even before I hit the wood. And when I did hit the wood, it did come to a drastic stop, and I felt that vibration straight in my hand. So yeah, in conclusion, if I was processing wood of that size, you could possibly get away with this, but it really needs a splitting axe. But they both do the job, as you can see. This is possibly a clear winner for that, but for portability, lightness, taking into the field and processing sticks or very light pieces of wood, this still possibly holds an edge in that respect, because this is less portable and it's a bit more weighty. So basically you have to weigh it all up. I know for a fact if I was in the field, shall I say, I'm not going to be processing anything much thicker than that. If I'm going to be processing stuff of, shall we say, that sort of gauge, yes, hatchet. So yeah, take your money and take your pick and choose which one you want. But as you can see, they're ultimately every tool has its place. So I hope you enjoyed that and you got something out of that. I know I have actually. I've taken something away from that because I've never played around and done this little experiment myself. But yeah, okay, so we'll have a little chat about a few other aspects now. Just a quick one about safety, really. My grandmother was petrified of axes and hatchets. She ended up with a cut running right the way up through there from when she was a young girl, and till the day she went to her grave she was petrified of axes and hated them. And if I was ever at my grandfather's as a young boy, you know, you were gravitated to their woodshed and everything like that. and she even thought there was an axe in there with me. She'd be shouting and screaming till I surfaced and could prove I still had both hands. You should wear gloves when you're using cutting tools like this. But yeah, I just want to stress safety. If you're going to be using these items, try to do it where you do not have to put your hands anywhere near the striking blades. If you're going to need to hold the piece of wood, just get another piece of wood, putting it on top, and then go down through like that. Don't put your hand there and go down like that. All it takes is to be distracted for a second. Next thing, you've lost a couple fingers, or had, like with my grandmother, a dirty great gash right the way back her hand. So yeah, always think safety or whatever you're doing with these sort of tools. And if you're striking the wood, don't have your hands anywhere near that vicinity of the actual cutting strike. Like I said, always be aware of what you're doing with these. Like I said, accidents happen, and I just wanted to share that with you. I know it's Billy Basics and everything like that, but I just want to get that, throw that out there, because like I said, I've seen the damage one of these can do firsthand, and it's not pleasant. And yeah, so safety first if you're using these guys. Hands nowhere near cutting blades. Use a object to hold the piece of wood that you're going to be striking. There are loads of other methods and safety rules around using axes and the cutting techniques and that, and I may cover some of those in a later video, but there's plenty of videos online that do cover those aspects, and they're definitely worth checking out. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up, and like I say, I've definitely took away something from this myself, just by playing for a few minutes in the woodshed. So okay, I've got to shoot off now, so catch you again.